This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, and I have Kris Rudeegraap, co-founder and CEO of Sendoso, the leading sending platform. And I am so excited to have him here to talk about his playbook to success. Welcome to the Playbook.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, David.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Kris, having a sending platform, first of all, is not your normal business model. It's obviously probably a great business model for COVID today and the compressed time of uncertainty that we're in. Can we talk about the evolution of getting to a sending platform? Where did the idea come from and how did you figure out how to create a business around that idea?
Yeah, of course. I was in sales for about 10 years prior to starting Sendoso. So I was an account executive at a company called TalkDesk, where at that point I was trying to get creative with breaking through this kind of email digital noise, I'd call it, where everyone's sending a million emails, but I would be writing handwritten notes, sending these little swag packs, doing that. Tried to get marketing to help out and say, hey, marketing, can you assist in some of this? Their response was fill out a spreadsheet and we'll get to it, which took weeks and weeks and weeks. So I kind of had that, epiphany moment where, what if there was a platform out there that made it easy to click and send physical items or digital gifts as easy as it is to send an email. Asked a few sales buddies if they would use it, and kind of the rest is history. So I said, hey, I should build this. It's going to be something that's super important for all what I thought at the time sales professionals, but we've kind of expanded even above and beyond that since then.
It's so remarkable when I meet an entrepreneur that number one can come up with a great idea, but there's a far stretch, there's a million great ideas out there, but there's a far stretch of entrepreneurs that actually can build it and then take it to the next level, which is create a business around it that makes money. Can you talk me through the building of it and the challenges that you have? Because I think a lot of people, that I coach that come to me have great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talk about, okay, how are we going to build it? What is the market size? And what does this look like? What were your first steps in building that platform?
Yeah, so I was building this for myself. I had an itch to scratch. The pain was real for me. So I think a lot of great ideas come from super pain points that you feel yourself. And so for me, it was the first day was, hey, what's that product going to look like that I would love to use? Let me design that out. Let me find some engineers that can help build it. And so it was really pen on paper, drawing out what the product should look like, converting those into some online mock-ups, and then working with some engineers to actually build out kind of the first version. So, I had no product or engineering experience just prior to starting the company, but I had a deep understanding of what I wanted the product to do and the confidence to say, hey, here's what it could look like. Let's build this. And so I think getting to product market fit, which is a big thing for entrepreneurs and founders, I feel like I had that day zero because I was the product that or in the market that wanted to use it. And so, it all started with just some designs on paper and then kind of scaled up from there.
One of the most interesting things is that today I talk about e-commerce and applying e-commerce to everything.
Yep.
Uh, and if we're looking at people ask me for my advice, coming out of pre-vaccine into post-vaccine, all I see is that we've accelerated the e-commerce platform to apply to everything that we do, from mail to just simple HR functionality, to work at home, all types of different things that we're going to deal with. You reversed the trend. What's the difference? And I think it's important for people to know the difference between kind of digital mail and traditional mail in the effect of the sales executive or sales associate.
Yeah, so I think that, prior to starting Sendoso, using the direct mail channel and kind of the, physical mail was really this like black box where it was kind of controlled in bulk by marketing. Salespeople were always kind of doing this kind of one-off business gifting, but it was such a manual process that it wasn't really built into the day-to-day behaviors. And so really with starting Sendoso, my goal was to decentralize this thing that marketing used to own and do once in a while to making it just another tool that sales reps could click and send as easy as a message on LinkedIn or an email, and empowering salespeople to almost be mini marketers and get a little bit more creative and using this channel as a means to communicate with prospects or even partners or new customers. And so really that was my goal, building it into the sales forces, the outreach, the sales loss, building it into the tools where you already live, and just another tool in your tool belt to get in front of a prospect and help build value.
I always say that the sales skills that I have are the most valuable. They're recession proof, depression proof, but they
Mm-hmm.
also allow me to have the ability to stay in business, grow a business, scale a business, and make sure that my family always eats. How important are your sales skills, not just in the situational knowledge of what a salesperson would need in this aspect of a sending platform, but moreover in building a business, scaling a business, raising money, all the different facets of the business that you've built?
Yeah, so I think in the early days, me and my co-founder Braden were actually both sales background. So it was, easy for us to start pounding the pavement early on and cold calling and Sendosoing and getting our first, 50, 100 customers. That was like, no brainer to us. So I think that helped accelerate our early momentum in that, I think sometimes if you're a product or engineering founder, or maybe are reluctant to go, cold call and get customers in the door. So for us, that was just like, what we knew. So I think early on, it helped us build the early momentum of our customers. Another thing for me was, building a company. We've got, in the kind of mid 200s of employees now. And so that's a lot of hiring and a lot of recruiting. And so I think recruiting is also, my sales background has helped me go and find amazing people to join me on this amazing journey. And so there's some selling there in terms of, hey, you should leave your company that you're currently at and go join this company. And so I think from recruiting, I've been heavily involved in that since day zero, and my sales skills there have been really helpful. And then even today, I think, I meet with a ton of customers. I'm on this virtual customer roadshow right now, where I've met with a few hundred customers literally in the past month. And so my sales skills have also helped me, with a very extrovert attitude, get in front of customers, talk about what they love about Sendoso, hear customer stories, get product insights, versus, if I maybe wasn't as extroverted and really customer facing, it might be easier for me to hide behind the company walls and not learn as much and not meet as many customers. So, that I think the sales skills there has helped tremendously as well too.
On the other side of it, you were talking about learning what you don't know. Well, coming from the same background as you and into an executive role in my 30s at a young age, the biggest thing was learning what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
What's the number one lesson that you learned from thinking, as a sales guy into the executive side of administration operation, that you were like, oh my gosh, I used to get so mad or, look down upon, some of my executives or management going, why don't they do that? And then when you're on top of the hill, you're like, oh, that's why. Did you have one of those epiphanies of something that you've learned?
The finance side of the business was something that sending invoices, creating, balance sheets, all that stuff was pretty nuanced to me. And so I found an amazing leader that could run that team in that department for me. But early on, I was doing some of our very early kind of accounting and finance stuff. And that was like, a WTF moment where I don't know enough here. I need to hire someone ASAP.
Yeah, me too. I was like signing K's and Q's and S, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I was at a law background as well. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want to be personally liable for this. I don't know what the heck I'm signing.
yeah. There's a lot of learning. I think it's all about, learning what you don't know, like you mentioned, and then finding great people that are 10 times smarter than you in those areas, and then, building a team around you. So.
The other side of sales that I see people like you and your partner that co-found these businesses is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the importance of relationships internally and externally, and building a firm and strong base of relationships. Tell me or explain to me those relationships that are critical when you're starting a business, and then now that you have over 200 employees, how you determine the relationships that are most important to grow and to expand on.
Yeah, so and some of the relationships that have really helped us succeed were early on when you're fundraising. A lot of VC meetings are driven off of relationships. So we actually early on were we're planning on bootstrapping for a while, but my last CEO at my last company introduced me to a VC. And that relationship quickly sparked into, hey, we're interested in investing. And so, from raising 2 million to then 11 million to then recently 40 million, all of those fundraising rounds are really driven off of relationships. So I think it's been key to the success of the fundraising efforts. From an employee standpoint, I try to stay really close to all of our employees. I have this kind of Ask Kris Anything Slack channel that also then dovetails into random meetings each week with a handful of any employee there is that just kind of gets randomly thrown on my calendar. And so I think that above and beyond meeting with, my exec team and, department leads, I find it crucial to keep relationships with, the SDRs, project managers, the engineers. Really, everyone has their own perspective and can also shed light on interesting ideas for process improvements, product improvements. And so I love meeting with as many of the team as possible and continue to do so daily.
How much more impactful is a tangible item than a digital item or response?
Yeah, so I think it's partial, the COVID time has brought some interesting nuances. But, we're starting to, I think, go back into the office mode. I know companies are opening up the doors and kind of trickling back in. So, I think that they both play a key part in your strategy. I don't think you can spray and pray anything these days. You need to be, smart about your approach. And so I think both of them, have a play where, the offline physical item is great at kind of getting on people's desks, breaking through the digital noise, kind of opening conversations or even keeping conversations going. And depending on the use case, digital can do just that too, and can build that relationship even stronger. We've seen amazing success recently with sending out things like charity choice gift cards or, Uber Eats and, DoorDash and things so I think it's all about the relationship and all about, hey, not only is the gift or the item important, but what's the message that comes along with it. And so you can really time it to what kind of the personal experience of the recipient is and be impactful with both digital gifts as well as physical gifts or a combination of those as well.
What was the most successful physical gift campaign and why?
Yeah, we've seen so many. I mean, I think there was an early one that I loved, which was this wine bottle with a combo code lock on it. And so you'd send that out and it's like, hey, take the meeting and I'll give you the combo code to get into the wine.
Oh, I love that.
It was super creative and, it's like sitting on your desk. You're like, I want this wine, but I can't get in. There's some cool decoder glasses that you'd send with that kind of meshed up image where you couldn't read it without those red decoder glasses. And so, simple, cost effective, but just enough interaction where it's different than what you've seen for weeks. And so you put on the glasses, read the message, and it was a bit more interactive, which I thought, we did a custom advent calendar last year for the holidays, which was fun. We've seen this year for Valentine's Day, one of our customers did custom those candied hearts with custom messaging on each one and the logo, which I thought was kind of creative because there's, brings you back to the early middle school, high school days of giving out candy hearts and the nostalgia of that. There's just so much cool stuff that we've done. It's really inspiring to see what our customers come up with or what our internal project management and CSM team helps our customers come up with. So
you just helped me. I know exactly what campaign I'm gonna run first with Sendoso. I'm doing the Meltzer combo bank, and so you'll get a little safe that has a combo on. I love that idea because it brands me exactly where I want to be. And if you want to find out what's inside the bank that I gave you, you got to have a
exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
What's the greatest? I mean, obviously, we're all facing some sort of adversity, no matter if our businesses are doing well or not. So how do you handle adversity yourself? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big solution-oriented person. So if I'm facing a challenge, I immediately think of how can I fix this and who can help me fix this? So I'm a big I like to look at big picture strategy, but I also like to get into the nitty gritty weeds and kind of block and tackle. So for me, it's kind of coming up with a game plan to solve what needs to be solved, and just checking off the things to make it done, to make it happen. So I think that, sometimes there's huge problems that that you could face, but if you break it up into little, bite-sized chunks and just, chip away at it, the problem will be, solved in no time. So
You and your co-founder done such a great job. I'd love to kind of end this on your best advice for entrepreneurs, whether it's in raising money, scaling a business, whatever area. If you wish you would have someone your age, your experience coming back to a young entrepreneur, just sitting there at his desk going, I know people need this, I need this. What advice would you give them?
yeah, I would say just get out there and do it, but have fun while you're doing it. I'm a believer in not the work 20 hours a day and kill yourself. And I'm more of a believer in a good work-life balance. So I think that there's a lot of startup advice where it's like work 20 hours a day or you're going to fail. And I think that, you're on a marathon. I'm in year 4 of a, could be decade-long journey. And so pace yourself. I think you can work smart, not hard, and have fun doing it. Don't forget the spending time with the family, going and traveling, getting a dog, those type of life events that, you can't come back around and just crush it at work, but, crush it at home and have fun.
I love that. I always teach people there's activity you get paid for, activity you don't get paid for. Don't believe in work. Don't believe in busy. Just believe in active and enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential.
Love
And
it.
I think that's what, Kris, you and your partner do. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a great episode. For people, go back, listen again. There's some jewels in there, some nuggets from someone that has done it at a young age, sitting in a sales desk, all the way up to 200 employees and just killing it, even in the most difficult times. Kris, thanks for joining me on Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.